Well, we keep moving on to the college football playoff rankings that were released on Tuesday.
There we go.
And so we've got Miami at 9. So how did that
Yeah.
hit you?
I thought that was reasonable. Way more reasonable than like the coaches and AP polls, which dropped Miami to 12. I thought that was. I don't think that was realistic. I think that was like petulant. I thought that was just basically some hating ass shit, to be perfectly honest. Um, and for all of the talk and everything, like, well, Miami almost did it. Miami won all those games. So, if it had been Georgia, it's there. They have the heart of a champion. They find ways to win. If it was somebody else, it's Miami, and oh well, blah blah. Now, I think that this team it's different than 2017, obviously, because this is offensive first team and that was a defense first team. If you put this offense with that defense, you might have one of the greatest teams ever. So, like the second best team behind the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. But I digress. But being ranked 9th in this iteration of the college football playoff top 25 rankings, I think is reasonable. I also hear where people are pushing back and saying, regardless of where Miami is, they should be a spot below SMU, whose only loss was by 3 points to that number 6 team there, undefeated BYU, and is undefeated in conference. I understand that pushback, but that is a little bit of Miami being a more name brand program than Louisville, and Miami doing all of this winning on ABC and ESPN, while Louisville's mainly been on like ESPN2
SMU.
ish. Sorry, SMU. Excuse me. They've been on ACC Network and ESPN2. So widely distributed channels, but not to the same level. Miami is a common team in 6 of the highest 10 rated ACC conference games this year. So people, including that Cal game, which was ended at 3 a.m. Eastern, people stayed up to watch that damn game, right? So I get it on that. I think that Miami, for the most part, has earned this kind of spot. I understand where SMU people are coming from. I might even be inclined to agree, but I think that this is reasonable. And, in that Miami is still projected at this time on paper and with whatever metric you want to use to win the ACC championship at present, slotting them there and having them, if you extrapolate this into the bracket, this would be a number 4 seed. So Oregon projected to win the Big Ten at 1, Texas at 2, BYU at 3, and then Miami at 4 is how the seedings would work. Remember, seedings are different from rankings because the 4 highest ranked conference champions get the 1 through 4 seeds and a bye to the quarterfinals. I think that this is reasonable, and honestly, I'm not getting too worked up one way or the other because the impetus is on Miami from here on out to go win. I said it before last week's game. Playoff football starts now. Luckily, going into last week's game at 9-0, there was wiggle room to lose a game anywhere in the schedule. A game. Uno partido. 1. Now that Miami's lost that game, playoffs, like the single elimination playoffs for Miami, are here. Win and you continue, lose and you're done. And I think that even goes into the ACC championship game. There's a chance, a small, infinitesimally small chance that Miami could lose, or even SMU, but the team could lose the ACC championship game and sneak in. I think it's very small, and I don't anticipate that happening. So Miami, playoff football starts now in the month of November, the month that counts. Win against Wake Forest on Senior Day, win at Syracuse the week after, win the ACC championship game on December 7th, 3 days after National Signing Day on December 4th, and you're good. If you lose any of those games, you're not making the playoff. It's simple logically, but, takes work to actually make happen, but that's the current state of affairs.
I totally agree. It would take significant carnage elsewhere for Miami to get in at 11-2 with a second loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, look, ESPN is already trying to lay the foundation for a 3-loss SEC team to get in. This is like when you have a friend who is, on again, off again with their significant other. And it's just like, well, remember that time that we all went on vacation? It was fun. Remember when we went to Six Flags? Remember when we went to Walt Disney World and and whoever was there? It's like, yeah, it's like, well, it wouldn't be so bad. And I mean, I might have texted once or twice, but I mean, yeah, it's soft launching the return of it's that kind of situation, because if you're bringing it up on all these shows, College Football Now, Get Up, you put it on the website, you have multiple writers talking about, well, a 3-loss Alabama, is it really that bad? They're probably still one of the most talented teams in the country. A 3-loss Georgia, they're already laying that foundation, right? So yeah, they're going to pick a 3-loss, maybe even a couple 3-loss SEC teams over a 2-loss ACC team. In most instances, unless they lost again to, a team were to lose to the likes of Mississippi State or something, down the stretch for their third loss of the year. But yeah, it really is all in Miami's hands. Go win the games in front of you. Wake Forest, Syracuse, likely SMU in the conference championship game, and you're in the playoffs. If you don't win any of those games, any of those 3, then it's a very nice bowl game with a very nice, complimentary sweet package that's not one of the, not associated with college football playoff. It's pretty binary. Win and you're in, lose any of the remaining games in the regular season or conference championship game, and you're not.
Cam already explained why Miami would go to an ACC championship game above Clemson, because they've got the higher seeded win, meaning the Louisville game. You can look at it that way, or the common opponent. Mm-hmm. The Clemson SMU comparison is the same. SMU, again, beat Louisville. Clemson does not have that game. Their highest game at this point, seeded win, would be a future game that they would have in defeating Pitt this Saturday. Although Louisville's 4-2 in the conference and Pitt's 3-2. So if Pitt surpasses Louisville, maybe that would knock out SMU and replace them with Clemson as having a higher seeded win.
I mean, true, but SMU is undefeated in conference, so they're like,
if they lose.
Right. If they would have to lose. Right. Yeah. But like at present, it's, even if, Clemson wins out and Miami wins out with 1 loss in the conference, we beat a team that beat them. There's your transitive property that we were talking about last week, Mark. And it goes kind of, it would go against Clemson in that case. But again, it's luckily Clemson lost at home to Virginia last week. That gives them their.
Who? Oh, you're talking about Pitt. Pitt lost to Virginia.
Pitt lost. Yeah.
You said Clemson. Okay. Yep.
Wasn't it? Oh, no, yeah, it was Pitt. It was Pitt. And that opened up the door for a tie with Clemson, which Miami holds the tiebreaker. Yeah, all these different machinations have my brain scrambled, and I've been writing notebooks all damn week.
So, folks, I'm going to do my best to do what I've been doing the last few weeks and produce a scenarios video. I've got it all right in front of me here. I've yet to produce it. If it comes down to opponent's winning percentage, that is even razor thin at this point. So there is a tiebreaker that would come down to opponent's winning percentage in the ACC. And right now, SMU's ACC opponents are 20-29. Miami's are 1 game better at 21-28. And Clemson's are a half a game less than SMU's at 19-29. So basically, those can all change in the final 3 weeks of the season. They're indistinguishable at this point.
Who would have thunk that having Florida State on our schedule would tank our strength of schedule like that? I love it though. They can rot. They can hey, whatever. But so lots going on. But there are other scenarios and everything. In terms of Miami, win and you're in. That's your only focus. Shut everything else out. Line up on the field. win these 3 games. Playoff football starts now, period, the end. That's what we need to handle. It is, with that pit loss, again, we have the agency of our own destiny. So we go out there and we win, great. You go out there and you don't earn victory like happened last week, you got nobody to be mad at but, the man in the mirror at that point.
This is where tiebreakers become very odd, where the dynamic of Miami having certain tiebreakers against certain teams works in their favor. But if SMU would, and so Miami's actually in a, arguably, again, it depends how the games play out for the next 3 weeks. Miami could be in a better situation just leaving SMU just to go undefeated, just win. We'll play you and win these tiebreakers against these other teams, namely Clemson, versus SMU losing. It knocks it down into a different series of tiebreakers.
Yeah.
And that's where tiebreakers become, and we see it every year in the NFL playoffs leading into that final weekend where it's like you would think this would be a good thing for your team, but it changes the dynamics of the tiebreakers, and it could be a bad thing for a team that you're actually competing against to lose. And
right, I mean, if the tiebreakers were static, right, it was like, okay, this is the one set of tiebreakers, then yeah, but that team loses and then it removes it from this tiebreaker to this one, and then that actually that's the kind of domino effect. But again, I'm hopeful that we are able to avoid any tiebreakers by simply winning the games.
Yep.
And moving forward,
because I find this stuff fascinating myself.
It's very fascinating. It's even more fascinating when your team is not involved. Like, hey, if NFL fans want to talk about tiebreakers right now, when the Lions are the number 1 seed in the NFC, hey, and you're talking about that last playoff spot, go right ahead. My team is cruising. I missed last week when we were undefeated and just being like, oh yeah, y'all can talk about all that because we haven't lost a game. But